Have you ever had cramping in the middle of the night? Have you ever had excruciating cramps while you were swimming in the middle of open water? Hi, my name is Stanislav Chernonog, and I'm the author and creator of the online school Vector Massage and Somatics and the YouTube channel of the same name. Today we will talk about muscle cramps, their causes, what to do during an attack, and how to make sure that cramps do not appear at all. I would like to start with the physiological causes. Firstly, it is a lack of magnesium inside the muscle, and secondly, it is a spasm of the fascial membrane of the muscle. For us, the presence of cramps is an important diagnostic principal sign. If a person has cramps, then either his fascia is tense or he has a lack of magnesium. If he has a lack of magnesium, then we are talking about the fact that with a large lack of magnesium, most likely there are problems with increased acidity in the body, and this indicates inflammatory processes or stress and problems with the lymphatic system. Magnesium is needed by our muscle cells in order to allow the actin-myosin complex to relax and the muscle to stretch. At the same time, magnesium is spent by the body to reduce the acidity of the internal environment of the body. The acidity of the internal environment of the body increases as a result of increased stress or an inflammatory process. If a person has cramps, then we are talking with a high degree of probability that a person has either an inflammatory process or there is chronic stress and the cortisol level is most likely increased in a person. In these cases, we will do a massage focused on the removal of the inflammatory process. This is the work of the lymphatic system or work on the stress level. These are breathing techniques. But much closer to the work of a masseur, the second reason is when there are problems with the fascial cover of the muscle. How does it work? The fact is that a muscle, any muscle of our body, consists of two parts. Firstly, there is a muscle fiber directly, and secondly, the muscle fiber is wrapped around the fascia. The muscle fiber must actively adjust to the level of load that comes to the muscle from the external environment. So for example, if we take the front surface of the thigh, then the muscle in front of the thigh should strain depending on how much weight we have on our shoulders. If we took on a heavy load, then the muscle should adaptively turn on more strongly. This happens completely without the participation of your consciousness. However, in some cases, it happens that the muscle fiber is not able to cope with the load. This is due to a violation of the so-called mitotic reflex. If a muscle that has stopped working is vital for the body, then the body turns it on as much as possible. This is due to the fact that the fascial capsule of the muscle begins to shorten and squeezes the muscle. This immediately leads to a bunch of unpleasant effects. For example, the muscles cease to supply blood normally and the amount of magnesium inside the muscle drops. In addition, the muscles are in excessive tension, and at any moment they can enter a state of extreme tension, which is what we call a cramp. It should be understood that the pain in the muscle during a cramp is due to the fact that the extreme muscle is greatly reduced. Decay products accumulate in it, and they cause this excruciating pain. But like all things in life, cramps are not only bad, but can also be good. The fact is that cramps are a consequence of problems inside the body. The moment we discover that we have cramps, we have an opportunity to work with the root causes and thus improve our health. Moreover, cramps themselves can be a tool to improve our health. For example, one of my clients constantly had cramps in the calf muscles. We began to investigate, and it became obvious that the cause of the cramping was a problem in the mid-thoracic spine. After we started working with the mid-thoracic spine, the cramps disappeared, and our patient stopped slouching. How does it work? Let's look at the root causes of cramps. The history of cramps may be due to the fact that the muscles in which the cramp occurs are not able to cope with the load that the environment presents to it. So, for example, we have a calf muscle. The calf muscle should support the body from falling forward and generally push off while walking. If for some reason the calf muscle does not work, the reason for this may be, for example, a problem with the muscle itself, and problems of pinching in the sciatic nerve, or problems with the diaphragm, or problems with the cervical spine. If the signal does not reach the muscle won't work correctly, but it is still necessary and the muscle is able to compress itself, and I am at the expense of myofascial capsules. Accordingly, compression allows the muscle to work normally, but the side effect is the occurrence of cramps from time to time. In some cases, a cramp may occur due to the fact that some other muscle that is an antagonist of the problem muscle is weak. The following causes of cramps are the weaknesses of other muscles. For the calf muscles, its opposite muscles are the anterior tibial muscles. And accordingly, if the anterior tibial muscles do not work normally, then the calf muscle, which is oriented to the load level of the normally functioning anterior tibial muscle, will be in excessive spasm and periodically fall into a state of convulsions. Thus, it is impossible to cure a cramp on the calf muscle until we deal with the anterior tibial muscle. Just for the sake of understanding, the calf muscle is weak, and due to the fact that it is weak, the brain begins to engage the other muscles. You have two rubber bands. Normally, they should both be stretched, balancing each other. If one weakens, the other will be excessively compressed. The third cause of cramps, for example, in the calf muscle, may be weakness along the line that provides stability from falling in the anterior direction. If there is weakness in the thoracic region, then we will excessively hold ourselves with the calf muscle. Thus, a cramp in the calf muscle can also occur as a consequence of problems in the mid-thoracic spine. Let's look at the reasons sequentially. If the problem is inside the muscle itself, then we need to release the muscle from its fascia cover. How do we do this? The main technique for releasing the muscle from the fascial cover is the shifting technique. We have to move the muscle down, up, to the side, or stretch the muscle, thus releasing the muscle fibers from their sheath. This leads to good results if the problem is in the muscle itself. If we have problems with an antagonist, for example, with the anterior tibial muscle, then we must work directly with the antagonist, with a muscle that is weak, and thus we will lead to its toning, and to the fact that the muscle that is weak will finally be able to stretch the calf muscle normally for us. And finally, the last reason, when there is a problem somewhere along the line in some remote region that forms an integral myofascial structure, we need to find a place where there is a weakness. Well, for example, most often this weakness occurs in the mid-thoracic region, and we need to work with these structures. This will lead to the fact that the calf muscle will no longer be forced to save our back so that the body does not fall. The main problem of working with cramps in the long term is understanding the mechanism by which a cramp occurs and treating the root causes. What to do if a cramp has happened to you right now and you urgently need to deal with it. The first mechanism of working with a cramp is stretching the muscle where the cramp occurred. If we are talking about the calf muscle, then we have to pull the sock on ourselves. Here, a very important point is that we pull the muscle slowly and delicately. The fact is that a fascia is a structure that has very low elasticity, and it stretches much better when we stretch it slowly than when we stretch it quickly. You need to find a level of stretching that is comfortable for a person, and slowly strengthening the stretching, accompanying the stretching process with breathing. That is, at some point we inhale, produce tension, and on exhalation we increase stretching, and this leads to more flow in the muscle. If the cramp came to you at the most inopportune moment, if you do not have the opportunity to stretch the limb, then an injection or a blow will also be effective, but this is not the best option in the long run. A good option is when you stretch your leg exactly in this position. When you have a stretched back surface and you pull the sock towards yourself. You can take off your belt and grab your ankle, and thus slowly stretching the structure, getting rid of cramps. Of course, cramps in the calf muscle are absolute record holders in frequency, but it will be extremely interesting for me to find out which places you still had cramps. Be sure to write about it in the comments, and it will be very interesting for us to read. But my own favorite way to work with my cramps is to increase the cramps. The fact is that the cramp is the result of excessive tension in the fascial membrane of the muscle. This fascial membrane of the muscle, being tense, in no way demonstrates its excessive tension for the central nervous system. This is exactly why the body does not take any action in order to correct an incorrectly functioning structure. At the moment when a cramp occurs and we begin to remove the cramp through the stretching, we sort of say to our nervous system, "Dear nervous system, you don't need to do anything. We will help you by stretching the muscle." And thus the nervous system just says, "Well, okay." And our task is to make sure that cramps do not appear. And the main task in this regard is to report that something is wrong with my leg and that the central nervous system should take care of it. The only way to convey to the central nervous system that something is wrong is to observe all the consequences of how the cramp develops. I have devoted a long time in my life to searching inside the foot for such positions in which my foot will become cramped. I move my leg to some extreme position. Well, for example, I shorten the calf muscle extremely, or, for example, I pull the sock extremely on myself and thus cause a cramp in the anterior tibial muscle, or somehow collect the foot into a fist and cramps occur in the foot. This cramp develops incrementally. At some point, the pain begins to increase and panic grips me, but due to the fact that I am a master of my body and I know what will happen, I start breathing deeply. I understand that nothing terrible will happen to me, bones will not break, muscles will not tear. It's just a physical sensation. In the process of deep breathing, observing the experiences that occur in the tense muscle, and after a while, about 3 to 5 minutes, the cramp begins to let go and the next time it appears much more difficult. The fact is that my nervous system perceived the existing problem and made some kind of correction. The beauty is that I don't need to figure out how my body corrected the problem. It does it by itself, and my body and I make a great team. I am extremely grateful for you joining us here today, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel. My name is Stanislav Chernonog. I'm the author and creator of the community and online school, Vector Massage and Somatics. We are engaged in human health. We understand how we can help ourselves with our own hands right now in our lives, and more importantly, how to turn this knowledge into a wonderful career. See you again, friends, and take care.